Hello and welcome to RPG Hangout, the podcast in which we sit around and discuss some RPGs that we played this past week. I am your host, Leo, joined by my co-host, Nathan.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, so the order of today is, normally we would do news in this little section here, but we are going to forego that this episode for next episode. And we're just going to kind of introduce what's going on. We are recording both episodes today, so all of this week's news will be in that episode. But yeah, so let's get down to brass tacks. What's up with the podcast? So every week, we will both choose an RPG, and we will spend the week playing it. Then we will come together to record and discuss the RPGs together. In a small way, it's kind of like we're pitching the RPG to each other, but kind of.
Yeah, just kind of like talking about it, and I don't like this time around. I picked an RPG that Leo wasn't too fond of, so maybe I can convince him.
Yeah, so, which reminds me, this week, the main topics are, I chose Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and Nathan chose Nier Automata.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and just kind of start with our kind of general RPGing and video game background, so that we can, give the audience a taste of...
Backgrounds?
Yeah, backgrounds, so that the audience can get a sense of our qualifications, quote unquote.
JRPGs every day, man.
Yeah, I also quite like myself a good JRPG. What, if at all, can you remember, was your potential first JRPG?
Oh, God. That... I mean, technically, Kingdom Hearts would be, but... I also think Drakengard was my first game.
Oh, yeah?
JRPG, yeah. Drakengard for the PlayStation 2.
Oh, yeah, wow.
No, it was Drakengard 2.
Oh.
And, it was really fun. Hella fun. But then after that, I think it would be Kingdom Hearts, because that's technically a JRPG as well.
Well, it definitely counts as a JRPG. My first JRPG, technically... is a Final Fantasy game that I can't identify because I was so young.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we had a PlayStation 1 ages ago, and my parents had some Final Fantasy games, and I was interested, but young enough to not fully understand what was going on. So I would put in the RPG, the Final Fantasy, and I'd close it, and I have a vivid memory of walking from left to right in a foresty area in the classic kind of 3D models on the 2D background kind of style. But I, for the life of me, cannot identify which Final Fantasy that is. I think...
Yeah, no, I have memories of it too, going to your house. And
yeah. I think it might have been Final Fantasy 9. But that's kind of the only one I can kind of fully identify. Other than that, I believe my first proper foray into JRPGs would be Kingdom Hearts as well. As for normal RPGs, I'm not entirely sure. I wonder if you could technically count Star Wars Episode 3 as an RPG.
I mean, I don't think so, because that was chapter, mission-based.
True.
There was no, actual roaming around, or...
Yeah, it did not have any kind of overworld or anything like that, so that's fair. Yeah, other than that, it's hard to pinpoint...
it was so long ago for both of us, so...
Exactly. We have been playing games for a long time. More than normal levels of incompetence throughout a lot of that time.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and discuss what we ourselves kind of deem to kind of count as an RPG.
Are you going first or am I going first?
I can go ahead and go first. So, personally, I have an extremely relaxed view of what an RPG is. I usually kind of just define it as like a game in which like you gain XP to improve your character, kind of thing.
Right.
That's kind of, for me, what an RPG kind of boils down to, is like you gain the experience and like you can level up perks, that kind of thing. What about you?
I mean, it's obviously got to be story driven, like 50% at least.
Yeah.
And just like you said, like the ability to like upgrade yourself and level up and like feel a growth in your character, the character that you're playing as, almost as though you're role playing that character.
Yeah.
So like that's what I base out like you in like side quests and like any sort of side quests or like collectibles or just like things you can pick up across the world. It not necessarily open world stuff I consider, but like just like a semi open world that you can at least explore a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for me, an example that might end up being a little bit controversial or a little bit weird is the upcoming Lego Star Wars game. I'm willing to consider a pseudo RPG at the very least.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like there's experience, but you are able to level up your character mostly through obtaining and selling collectibles. It's a bit of a pseudo RPG, but I would definitely not count like the original Lego Star Wars games as an RPG.
Yeah, because again, that was just like mission based.
Yeah. Let's see. Of course, you have your classic RPGs. So you have, the Fallout games, the Elder Scrolls games, the Final Fantasies, Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, the well known stuff.
The fun ones. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good layering of that. Any other kind of background info you would like to discuss?
Like just like gaming experience or what's up?
Yeah, gaming experience, preferences, that kind of thing.
I mean, not really. Like, my preferences for
RPGs, consoles, etc. Just letting people know your taste.
Definitely, like, the majority of games I play are RPGs. And it's been that way for a long-ass time. Like, the Tales series and Kingdom Hearts and games like Nier and stuff like that. Anime games. They're almost always RPGs.
Yeah. Or at least have RPG elements.
Yeah. I just grew up liking the sense of, like, putting myself in that character's shoes and, like, actually, like, growing and experiencing the story. And, like, games like that always had, like, a really nice charm to it. Like, way more than, like, shooters where it's just, like, mindless, like, combat and competitiveness and stuff like that. Like, there's nothing really driving you to go, which, I mean, I can see the appeal to those, but I just grew up not really liking them. So
yeah, that's where I come in with. I tend to be a bit more of an all-around kind of gamer. I do play a lot of RPGs, hence the reason that we've done an RPG-focused show. But I do like to dip into like shooters once in a while. Like I bought Battlefield 2042. I haven't played too much of it, sadly.
yeah.
It just takes up so much space. I like to play like Star Wars Battlefront. But since my definition of an RPG is fairly loose, a lot of games that you might be just willing to call, oh, that's more just actiony, I do tend to kind of fold a little bit in there. Like kind of Ghost of Tsushima, but you can kind of count that as a bit of an RPG here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind games like that either. like because those are
story.
those are way more story driven than RPGs. I think.
But I do like to keep say a shooter kind of close at hand because I do like to have a show because I personally I really like podcasts, like to listen to them. I like to there's 3 main ones that I kind of cycle through at the moment, and I'll probably start adding in a few more here and there. But I really do like podcasts, and I like something that I can just kind of zone out and play while listening to them. But even with RPGs, I'll probably discuss this a bit more in the next episode. But if I'm doing side quests, I will pop on a podcast sometimes, because a lot of times the story part of the side quest doesn't terribly matter, at least in some games.
So I know that you're like me, when you're going through a story, you want to listen to the game itself, but if you know that you have a lot of side stuff that's not perfectly relevant, you're maybe I can pop on some music, turn the volume down, just kind of chill out and do this until the story picks back up. And
because if you have a long list of side quests just kind of chilling in the wings, you know that's going to take you a couple of hours at least. So pop on a potty and let's get going, kind of thing.
But yeah, that's one of the things that I like about RPGs, though, is they give you all those side quests that you feel fulfilled completing them all, but you can also just chill out and do other things if you want while you do it.
That's something that I'll probably get into a bit more next episode, because it has a lot to do with that game. Because
what, Ghost of Tsushima?
No, for Ni no Kuni next episode. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'll kind of put that over there for now. But yeah, so I think that's a good place to kind of start transitioning into actually discussing the games of this week. So like I said...
14 minutes in.
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, I played Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and Nathan played... Yeah. Yeah. So, would you like to kick it off with some Nier, or would you like me to start?
I mean, we could bounce off, but I could start.
Yeah, let's start with Nier.
I mean, to be honest, it wasn't the first time I played it. You know that. But
yeah.
I tried my best to replay it again, because since I played it last time, it was on my PS4, but now I have a PS5. So it just was erased. I never got around to it. So it was this podcast was actually a really good excuse. Wait, did you ever no, you didn't mention the reason why we wanted to start this was because we were sitting playing RPGs together, right?
Yeah, so that's fair enough.
We could probably talk about that.
Probably for some reason in my head, I was like, oh, that story can wait until we're all the way down when we're actually talking about those games. But yeah, let's talk about it now. We can recap it when we get to that point. So the story goes that we were hanging out, just chilling, playing games. We figured, while we're chilling, why don't we'll just play our own games. I was playing Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, and Nathan was playing Tales of Zestiria, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was around the time when it first came out, too.
Yeah. So we were, chilling and having fun, and while I was I think I was doing some side questy stuff in Legend of Heroes, he had come across, while just walking through a field, the final boss of the game.
I was adventuring through.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
And I'm sure this story is going to come up later in the podcast series.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we do intend to eventually, at least down the line, try to figure out some kind of conjoined series where I'll play the Legend of Heroes games and he'll play the Tales games, because it just seems fitting because of this story.
A finale or something, I don't know.
I don't know about finale, but definitely it will be an event kind of thing, maybe a whole month or something will be us playing each at least
Yeah, 'cause
sampling each of the games.
there's a lot of ground to cover with those games.
There really is. But yeah, so he came across the final boss while adventuring around, and we were just like, "Fucking fight him, see what happens."
I was so underleveled though.
Yes, which I think is the point. Like the boss, I think I read up later on, appears randomly sometimes after a certain point in the game, or at certain points in the game, and you can theoretically fight him, but you don't have to, for obvious reasons. So he started the fight.
But I was persistent.
Oh yes, he was. He started the fight, and I, for a while, was watching him, but then I was like, oh, this is going to take a while. So I just started going back into my game, and then, like, it was about an hour or so later, you finally vanquished the boss. And
I was slowly doing, because he was, like, overpowered. I was not leveled for this.
Yeah, and it gets to the question of, like, oh, you know, what's the reward for beating the boss so early? It must be, like, you know, a super happy ending, right? No, it's one of the most depressing endings in the game.
Yeah. It really, really surprised me, like, how it ended. It was so depressing, and then, like, the credits started rolling, and I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah. And then you just quietly switched back to the save.
And I was like, not doing that again. But, like, it ended up being, like, a really, like, fun and memorable experience for us, because it was something I never thought could happen playing that game.
Yeah.
And, like, it actually, like, took Leo by shock. And he's playing his own game, doing his own side stuff. So, like, it was, like, a cool little, like, hangout that we did. And we were like, yeah, like, we got to do that again sometime.
Yeah. And sadly, while we were able to do it at least a couple of more times since, we haven't been able to fully, like, recapture being able to do it. And this podcast is a good chance to kind of vaguely try to do that. But real quick, I do want to try to describe the scene from memory, if I can. So, the cutscene that plays, the characters are in a cabin during a storm, and they're all sad, sitting around a fire. Then there's, like, a rumble or something, and they look out the window and look up to the sky, and, like, the moon gets covered or something, and then, like, I think it's like a meteor is just about to crash, or like a dragon or something, and then it, like, cuts to black, and they're just, like, all just hanging around super sad for some reason, and there's, like, no explanation as to why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know about this ending already, because the game's been out for such a long time.
Oh yeah, if you know that the Tales series, especially Tales of Zestiria, you probably know of the ending. But, like, for us, it was one of the pivotal memories that, like, kind of pushed us forward from that point on. Another memory similar to that I can think of is when Kingdom Hearts leaked early.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was... when stuff like that happens, like, we always just end up being hanging out.
Yeah.
Which is the funny thing.
Yeah, we were hanging out, and it was, like, super late at night. Technically, you should probably count it as fairly early in the morning.
I think the sun was up at that point, honestly.
Yes, it was fairly early in the morning, and we were just, like, doom scrolling through, like, Twitter or something, and then we saw, oh, Kingdom Hearts is leaked. Here's footage of it. And we're like, oh no. And while we waffled for about an hour or two whether or not we should actually look at the footage, you know, and spoil it. We ended up caving, because we are weak, and Kingdom Hearts is our jam. Yeah. And while looking at it, we were also trying to figure out, like, is this real, kind of thing.
Yeah, at first it really didn't look real.
Yeah, it looked like it was... because of the way it was filmed and everything, it looked like it could have theoretically been, say, someone recreating it.
Yeah, like they make fan projects like that all the time.
Yeah. But turned out to be real. But overall, I would say we weren't overly spoiled for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, because there was a lot to it after that, and like,
Yeah.
it really didn't feel like we saw the footage once we started playing it.
Yeah. But man, anyway.
But okay, yeah, that's basically back to Nier here.
Yeah.
So I played it before. I played it again. I tried my best to get through as much of it as I could. Man, where do I start? It's such a good game.
Well, I guess
like overall.
I guess you could say start with like what's your history with the series?
Well, first, yeah, like I said, like my first JRPG was Drakengard 2, which isn't directly. I found out, like, of course, way later on in life, isn't directly like related to this timeline. But apparently, like Drakengard 1, the fifth ending of that one, is what connects Nier to Drakengard.
Yeah, it's the giant lady.
Yeah, like one. when you destroy her in the game, she releases a virus that kills humanity, and that's where Nier starts.
Yeah,
and it's a whole shebackle, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but like little me, like Wikipediaing that shit up was like, I don't know if I'm sorry for my language. I don't know if I could do that on the podcast, but
you're fine. I've marked it as explicit.
Oh, okay, cool. Because
Yeah,
you know me. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't worry. I swear to high heaven as well. It's fine.
Yeah, like little me, like looking all that up was like really cool. Because like the story of Nier is like super intricate, and honestly, it still confuses me to this day.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the characters and why things happen, and like I really want to play Replicant because that's like technically like the first one just remade.
Yeah. Well, so real quick, I guess I could bring in my background with this series as well. So, I've only played Nier Automata, more specifically. I haven't played all of it. I played some of it. I actually live streamed it for a bit, and the PC port of it isn't the best port because.
So I hear it's more of a console game, to be honest.
It definitely is. One of the problems it had that was. It was one of the mild frustrations that got me to stop. Not one of the major ones, but the game is forced into a specific type of aspect ratio. It doesn't go up to like 1080p for some reason. So on stream, there's like a black bar that goes along the right side and the bottom. Really annoying.
Really? Oh yeah, no, I remember seeing your stream.
Yeah, I don't know why it did that, but yeah, it was one of the mild frustrations. But another thing is the fact that, yes, it is, while not super strongly connected, it is connected to the Drakengard series. So I would like to play the Drakengard series so that I have that. Because I like to play the first game in a series and then work my way through, normally.
Yeah.
And that technically counts as, the early part of the series.
I mean, I like to as well, but like with my look, I actually accidentally end up playing a later game in the series, and then I don't find out that it's connected to another series until later on.
Yeah, right? But, yeah, so the main thing that kind of made me drop off is I couldn't find the story, if that makes sense. I just didn't. The story didn't really mesh with me, and it wasn't super blatant what was going on at all. Like, I vaguely got who we were and kind of why we were going around, but other than that, not really.
Okay, I'm honestly going to tell you this right now. That feeling doesn't go away.
Yeah, so I will say that is definitely a point against it.
Like, it does fill some major plot points as you go, but it still leaves a lot of questions unanswered, like, what the hell is happening, like, really? And, like, it's one of those, like, which ending of this game is the true ending?
Okay. So on that bit, then, what's the story?
Oh, God. I'm sure a lot of people have played it by now, so I'm not worried about spoilers.
Oh, yeah. And if
you don't mind, then...
Yeah, if they haven't, then they're probably at least at a similar part of where I'm at, where it's just like, I tried.
Couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
It basically takes place, like, way the hell after, like, all the previous games in the series, in, like, a world that, like, the humans live on the moon, and they created androids to destroy the life machine, or the machine life forms that the aliens created after they invaded Earth, sometime after Nier Replicant. I don't think they specify when that happens, but it's basically the story of, like, you play as, like, two androids fighting all these life forms, and then, like, they figure out that, like, these life forms are actually, like, getting a mind of their own and communicating and actually learning emotions and stuff. So, like, the androids start getting conflicted about, like, killing them brutally, like, slaughtering mass amounts of them for humanity. But yeah, it basically just goes throughout all that, like, learning, like... So, everyone's actually dead, and, like, the whole series, like, everything they done was pointless, and the real enemies are the androids kind of thing, and that's how it ends, and there's just so many questions unanswered. I skipped a little bit there because, like I said, I played it before, but it's been a while. I tried to play more of it. Like, I remember, like, big parts of it. Like, I remember, I just played the part where, like, you find the aliens underneath Earth, and the machines they created actually killed them. So there's no aliens at all. And the machine life forms actually start becoming humans themselves.
Right.
And, like, then they turn into the real enemy, and then the real enemy is actually the androids, because they all start going bonkers after they figure out that, like, the humans actually went extinct on the moon too, and there's actually no trace of human existence anymore.
Right. Wow.
So it gets pretty complicated.
Yeah, sounds like it gets pretty complicated and pretty dark and depressing.
It's a pretty dark game, yeah.
Yeah. So, from there, how would you... Because there's a few things in this part that have a lot of questions brought up. So, one of the things that was kind of juggling through my head while you were talking about the story there was, I do remember that there's a certain mechanic, that there's multiple false endings as well as multiple just endings in general.
Yeah, so there's actually endings A to Z.
Right.
And half of them are actually just joke endings, like self-destructing yourself, like, at the very beginning of the game. Like, that's an ending. And then there's an ending where you delete your save file, or you, like, remove, like, your operating system, like, in the skills, stuff like that. Or, like, you're fighting, like, a battle, and you just walk away. That's an ending, too. And then, like the little text is, like, to be, like, started, like, she decided she wanted to go fishing and live her life as, like, like, off the grid, and, like, being hunted by machine life forms and androids alike and stuff like that.
Right.
And, like, they have, like, little, like, narrations for, like, what happens after, like, you leave a battle and stuff. So there's a lot of endings like that. but I guess ending E is the true ending, but I'm not 100% I don't 100% remember how that ends. So
Right. That's all right. So, kind of on that line, so just kind of talk about the general combat and kind of gameplay. Your kind of day-to-day action that you would normally be doing within the game.
Yeah, so I think the combat is like really freaking cool. I remember when I first played it, like it was like revolutionary for me, because you have like you can have different equipment sets like all at once, kind of like how Kingdom Hearts is, where you can like change your keyblade.
Oh, Kingdom Hearts 3?
Yeah, stuff like that. And then like I just love games with skills, and like you can like upgrade yourself, and you really get a sense of like actually doing stuff and becoming like stronger and leveling up and stuff like that.
Right.
And like the movement's kind of iffy. Like it kind of makes me sick. I'm not gonna lie.
I can kind of see that, because when I played it, it's kind of oddly light, and in comparison to like the world around it,
it's very floaty.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard to dodge. Like, dodge is the only thing that that doesn't fully cooperate with me in that game, and it frustrates me. But I like all the, like, combos and stuff that you can do, and you got the little pod thing that can shoot while you're doing melee, so you can do, like, double damage kind of thing.
Yeah. I remember the pod. The pod was one of the reasons that I had trouble streaming the game, because the pod was keybound to a specific key that I had bound for muting and unmuting myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so whenever I would activate the droid, I would mute myself.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It wasn't great. And I think at one point I also had it bound to a key where it was like scene transition, so I was just like flicking through shit. It was not a great experience trying to stream this game, sadly.
Yeah, I think the pod is overpowered.
Oh yeah, at times it definitely.
It's
when I
because
dipped into it.
I found myself doing side quests that was like 10 or 15 levels higher than the level I was, but I could literally just defeat the enemy with just the pod alone, because the pod does like insane damage no matter what level you are.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of like a cheesy way to do it, but
yeah, but it does have a decent cooldown, doesn't it?
Yeah, but like if you do stuff like that early, then you get like cool stuff early in the game, stuff like that.
So speaking of enemies, how would you say the enemy variety is?
So like there's so many different varieties of the machine life forms. Like as far as enemies in games go, I actually really love the machine life forms. Like there's some of my favorite. It's like some of them are so adorable, and some of them are like super intimidating. Like they've got ones that fly around, they've got like little chubby ones with legs, they have dinosaur life forms, they have like flying UFO life forms, and then of course like the life forms that turn into humans, which in the game is Adam and Eve.
Right. So what about the bosses?
I mean, the bosses are the same thing. Like the main bosses are Adam and Eve, and then you have like a robot that's like has a dress on, turns into a dancer. She's singing, and she's like controlling all the like the dead androids, and
yeah, I believe that was the last boss I fought.
yeah, and then the first boss is the Goliath, which is like a giant machine life form that's literally made out of a factory, and it's got giant saws. And then you got like centipede machine life forms, to where you have to like find a specific point in their body to actually do damage to them, which is really annoying, but they're pretty cool. Yeah, they got they got all kinds of enemies in that, and like I said, like they're some of my favorite enemies in games ever.
Do the bosses ever kind of introduce like unique mechanics or like specific tricks to beat them?
Yes. So I mean, it's kind of diverse, kind of not. Some bosses you can actually like hack into, or you can use like special moves. Like in the beginning, you can like hack into the Goliath, and you can take his arm, and then you can start using his arm. Or when you're fighting the singing lady, you can hack into her system and like weaken her so that you can do more damage, and like get her to stop controlling the androids.
All right.
So there's stuff like that. And then I think Adam and Eve, when you fight them, like you can actually like use their moves against them. So you can like record them and then like use their moves. And it's pretty cool.
Neat. Personally, I might give the game another try. It does sound kind of fun, though. Man, it does not sound nearly as satisfying as I kind of like some of my RPGs to be.
I mean,
combat-wise, it sounds kind of fun, but it might get a little bit repetitive at times.
I mean, you can... It's kind of repetitive, but like I said, like you have the option to change up your weapons, like...
Yeah.
Anytime you want. And like they have a different variety of weapons, like spears, knuckles, heavy weapons. The pod has like different weapons that it can use, and you can change them throughout battle. And then you can even like use specific items to enhance your stats to make things harder or easier for yourself.
Right.
Which is pretty fun. But yeah, you can change it up. It might get repetitive after you've used all the alterations that you can, but I'm sure you would beat the game at that point.
Yeah. But the other form of satisfaction I was kind of talking about was, like, narrative satisfaction.
Like storyline stuff?
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong, there's a lot of story to it, and some of the side quests actually, like, dip into some of, like, the lore of previous games, and, like, the world. Like, not exactly the story, but the world around you, what's happening to the world around you, which is pretty cool. And there are tons of side quests, like, holy crap. Like, I think where I'm at right now, I probably have, like, 20 side quests, and I've only done, like, almost half of the game. And I've already done, like, several side quests before that.
So, since you started playing it on your PS5, and when you had previously played it was on your PS4, how would you say the performance increase was between the two?
I mean, it definitely runs better, but for some reason, like, the initial loading is, like, nothing, but I think it's something about Nier. They have, like, a pre-loading screen that just doesn't change. Like, they have, like, that loading screen when you start up the game where it's, like, booting system, initializing what's...
Right.
Like, whatever.
It's like a cutscene, almost.
Yeah, like, no matter what, that stays the same. Like, it doesn't go faster, it doesn't go anything, so that's kind of annoying. But after that, it, like, boots in, like, immediately, so, like, when you're, like, transporting to different, like, worlds, or, like, areas of the world, it gets faster, so...
Oh, yeah, speaking of that, I can't particularly remember whether or not this exists. Fast travel, how is it?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
You get it kind of early in the game, but you just fast travel from, like, the save points you find throughout the world.
Right, okay.
You just, like, you shove yourself into a vending machine, and then you shove yourself out another one.
Right. Yeah, now I remember.
But you don't get it until, like,
You're probably in the city.
Yeah, a couple story missions in.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely might check it out again sometime. I still need some time to kind of go past it. If I ever want to stream it, I'm gonna have to buy it for, like, PlayStation or something.
And, like,
the aspect ratio was fucking killing me the entire time, dude. And
Yeah, dude,
I had trouble
that sounds
pairing up with my
annoying.
controller. Yeah. I also had trouble like pairing up with my controller, so I had to use like keyboard keys and shit. It was problematic.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess real quick, I'm gonna like talk about the world.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Talk
Like
about
the overall,
world.
like of course, like there's that city, you know it,
Yeah.
and then they have a desert area. Like there's zones almost, like how like freaking Sonic has zones.
Yeah.
Like they call them zones, like desert zone, city ruin zone, like stuff like that.
Yeah. So, real quick before you kind of get into the main bit of that, I do want to say that we did do a little bit of a RPG hangout bit on Sunday, and when we were hanging out, you did mention something while you were playing that I found a bit interesting. It was a bit of an interesting opinion to have. You said it was like Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, like the desert zone, like the actual desert.
Yeah.
The map layout is so similar to the Gerudo Desert in Breath of the Wild. It's insane. But when I first played it, I didn't realize because at that time, Breath of the Wild wasn't even out yet.
Yeah.
So I hadn't played it. And like going from there, waiting a while, playing Breath of the Wild, not really thinking about Nier, and then playing Nier again, and then just like comparing the two zones, like it's so similar. Like obviously Breath of the Wild has like Zelda places and stuff in the desert. But as far as like map layout goes, it is so similar. It's crazy. And it's like it's positioned in the same world area as Breath of the Wild too, like on the overall world map. Which was kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah. The question there, I guess you have to ask, was it a coincidence or was it on purpose? Ooh.
It is Square Enix, so
that helps not. If anything, that would lean more into the coincidence side of things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's definitely a coincidence, and I'm just over analyzing the maps, but
well, but it's one of those things that, like, it might have been an homage, maybe, but at the same time, it is one of those just kind of funny things that you're like, huh, this is very similar. And you just kind of like line it up, like,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's like different zones. There's like desert zone, city zone, underground zone. There's like towards the end, there's like a machine-made city zone, and then there's a forest zone. I don't know if I said that.
You said the city zone, but I think there's two different city zones, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Normal city zone and then robot city zone.
Yeah, which is like kind of like in-world, like final world kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like they get bigger as you go, so that's fun. And there's like more stuff to do in there, and then like each zone has their own like atmosphere, and the machine life forms you find there are different, like depending on the zone they're in.
Yeah.
So it's pretty unique. I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's one of the things about RPGs that's kind of fun is like seeing how they decide to differently or maybe similarly do worlds, and how they decide to do world building as well.
Yeah.
It's very, very fun. You know, sadly, this is more of a hindsight thing, but it's fine. The game that would have been really good to pair up with Nier would have been Ni no Kuni, funnily enough. But we'll get into that next episode. So, are you ready to start talking about some Dragon Ball?
I think we should.
Yeah.
We're almost like 50 minutes into this.
Well, real quick, I do want to say I was looking into a recording software that I was trying to. I was watching a video that had mentioned that there's this software that can record from both ends.
Really?
So, like, like it hosts a call and it'll record both ends of the conversation from each side, so you get perfect audio, perfect video, everything. And I was like, oh, cool. And I looked into it. The one that I found, like, you're paying like $5 a month to record 2 hours only a month.
That doesn't seem worth it.
Exactly. And the highest tier, which is like $27 a month, you get 15 hours, which at that point, like, yeah, that's more than enough kind of thing. But at the same time, it's just like, that's a lot of money to be spending for something that might not, like, return the same amount.
Yeah.
But just, like, looking at how long we've been going, of course this will be edited down a little bit. It's a good thing we didn't go with that. But anyway, Dragon Ball.
I had more to talk about Nier than I thought I did. So.
Oh, yeah, no, that's good. It just shows that it's a working concept. So what questions do you have about Dragon Ball? Huh?
So, I see, like, many things about it. Like, I see, like, the battles and then, like, the overworld stuff.
So you're talking about the game, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the game.
Okay.
I know what it's supposed to be about, which is, like, basically, technically, the Kakarot saga of Dragon Ball.
Kind of.
Like, isn't it when, like, he's raising up Gohan?
So yeah, the story it's just Dragon Ball Z. So
yeah.
So the story is just Dragon Ball Z. It goes through the Saiyan saga, the Android saga. Well, so let's see. It goes the Saiyans, Cell, right? No. Okay, it's Saiyans, Frieza, Cell, and then Majin Buu. So it just goes through each of those kind of arcs.
I know a lot about the Cell.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's where, like, Gohan's, like, a teen, and he finds, like, Super Saiyan kind of thing.
Actually, no, that's Majin Buu, actually.
No way.
Yeah, so,
Because I thought Gohan defeated Cell as Super Saiyan.
Yes, that's when he was a kid, like a young kid still.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and real quick start with my background with even just Dragon Ball. So my background with Dragon Ball is very little. I watched a little bit of Dragon Ball Z Kai when it would air on Nicktoons ages ago. It doesn't even air on Nicktoons anymore at all, which is kind of sad, because I constantly get little cravings to want to dip into it. And as you might guess, my propensity to want to watch things from the beginning also applies to shows and, movies and stuff. So whenever I want to try to get into Dragon Ball Z, for example, I look at it and I'm like, and then I go, oh, I need to watch Dragon Ball first. So I'm still working my way through Dragon Ball. So my first kind of exposure to actually seeing the story of Dragon Ball Z was through Dragon Ball Z Abridged, which is a fun way to be introduced to it.
Yeah, definitely.
But
not
it's
very,
also
not very accurate, but
it's not very accurate. But sometimes the voices are somehow like surprisingly spot on. But it will give you massive Dragon Ball Z blue balls because they never finished it. They didn't do the Buu saga.
So, like, even though you're watching an abridged, you still kind of want to know what happens.
Exactly. Like, so you get through the Cell saga in a lot of the movies, and then they stopped. They stopped doing it, sadly. They moved on to, like, a different, like, side project that's easier for them to do. Which makes me so sad. But after I finished Dragon Ball Z Abridged, I was like, I want to know what's going on, but I also don't. I have to get through Dragon Ball first, and also I know that the show is ball achingly long, and everything takes forever. So, I was looking through some things to get my Dragon Ball fix, and I saw Kakarot, and it was on sale. So I bought it. This was back in the year it came out, which I believe was 2020.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was at the end of 2020 that I got it. And so I started playing it, and I was having a good old time. I played through up to the Cell Saga, just before like the Cell games or whatever the hell it's called. And then I put it down for like a ridiculously long time, and only picked it up like a month ago. I found it was fairly easy to pick up. The only thing that was a little bit iffy on picking up again was some of the mechanics. Not all of them, but some of them. Like some of the like quests or like how to block, I kind of forgot. But overall, it's fairly easy because the UI is kind of overbearing at times.
So, how does like traveling through the world and combat transition? Like,
so throughout the world,
like is it like Final Fantasy where like you go into a battle once you like hit an enemy or something?
Actually, yes. So in Final Fantasy, it's like you can't see the enemy, so it's a little bit more like Legend Heroes Trails in the Sky or the Tales games, because you can see the enemies, kind of. When you're going around at like Mach 5, they can be a speck most of the time, but you will be pointed as to how close you are to an enemy, so you can theoretically avoid it or try to outrun it, etc.
Right.
But, so, the world is broken up into sections. Like, you have West City, you have Orange City that becomes Satan City, you have Kami House, that kind of stuff. And the Kami Overlook. And you can teleport between them. You can't... The world isn't as interconnected as you might think. Like, it's open world, but it's broken up into the sections, so you have to, like, go to the world map, select a section, and then you can explore a section.
Right.
The enemies kind of appear randomly-ish, so you'll be flying around, and all of a sudden, like, a distance meter will start to appear that's counting down to how close you are to it, and then the enemy might notice you and start pursuing you. But after you hit like certain levels, you can just blow right through them.
Like just completely eradicate them?
Yes, literally, like you can ram through the encounter and skip it.
Yeah. That stuff like that's going to come up in the next episode too.
Yeah, right? But the combat in that sense is it's nice to be able to kind of skip it, though. If say a new enemy type has kind of appeared, you can't entirely skip it because they're kind of a similar level, so you have to kind of beat the shit out of them. Though yeah. XP is plentiful. But yeah, so the story, as you had asked kind of earlier, does go through just Dragon Ball Z, generally. Though it does interweave some Dragon Ball characters that had vanished between the series. The game kind of tries to correct for that and actually bring them through. So, like, Pilaf is just about. And he actually takes part in some of the sub-stories sometimes.
Huh.
Yeah, it's weird. But, yeah, it's interesting. But the main story tends to remain about the same, with some minor details changed here or there. Because, some of the things they weren't willing to make a new model of the character to, like...
Right.
To do a thing.
That's pretty common in games like that, though.
Yeah.
They reuse assets and stuff.
Yeah, but for the most part, it is quite, as far as I can tell at least, quite faithful to the story. It's a good way to get a faithful abridged. version of the story. Because the fights last probably 10 times faster than anything you would get in the show.
Yeah, that's true, because it's all like controlled by you. It's all fast paced.
Well, yeah, and they can't have like you in the middle of a fight spend an episode charging up your power.
Yeah.
Though that is a mechanic in the game, charging up your power. Though it only takes like 6 seconds, something like that, to fully charge.
That happens a lot in Dragon Ball Z games, though.
Oh yeah, you have to. The thing that, while playing it, I had like the urge to do was to play Tenkaichi. Or Budokai. Yeah.
Yeah, I still have Budokai too. That's like the number one game that got me into... I wouldn't say get me into Dragon Ball, but got me into the games of Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Well, like, because as I was playing, I was like, man, the combat feels like very familiar, and that's what it reminded me of was a Dragon Ball Z Budokai. And that's why I went down there and played Dragon Ball Z Budokai with you.
Right.
I mean, overall, the story isn't too much different, So,
yeah, I mean, obviously it's like Dragon Ball Z, so...
Yeah. Like I said, I do like the elements that they introduced from, like, original Dragon Ball that kind of interspersed throughout the side stuff, and you can just kind of interact with them in the world kind of thing. So, yeah. Any other questions?
I mean, not really. Like, the only Dragon Ball Z, really, that I've ever experienced is the games themselves. And this one does look fun. Like, I'm not opposed to playing it. It's just one of those, like, I'm not too wanting to. Like, there's other games that I'd much rather play.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, here, let me
Kakarot. Like, it looks good. It looks really good.
Oh, yeah.
And
the art style is amazing.
Yeah, it sounds fun from, like, what you've been talking about and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, what other mechanics, like, is there anything, like, unique that this game offers compared to other RPGs, or?
Let's see. Well, I mean, the combat is fairly interesting. So, the combat system is kind of a little bit button mashy. You just kind of press the punch them button.
Right.
But you can use, like, ki to fire out little, like, blasts and kind of do, like, kind of cool combos. If you hold down, I believe it's it's L1. That should be the, like, super attack button. So that's how you do, like, your Kamehamehas, your solar flares, that kind of thing. And then if you hold down both triggers, that's where your transformations are. So that's how you go into, like, Saiyan 1, 2, Saiyan, like, or Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, depending on who you're playing as.
Right.
And whatnot. And and depending on when you go into those states, because some fights you are just in that state and it's, like, free. But outside of those specific scenarios, you can transform into those states at will after you've unlocked them, but it costs ki. If you want to stay in that form, you have to charge your ki every so often to, maintain.
Right.
Which you just do by, like, standing still and holding triangle and hoping that you don't get the shit beat out of you. The thing, like, so some of the negatives, I'll say, the enemies are a little bit repetitive. There's, like... So, based on each story, there's different types of enemies. So, at the very beginning, the enemies you'll encounter are just some robots from the Red Ribbon Army that aren't, as far as I know, aren't really in the show. Then after that, in the Frieza saga, you get some Frieza minions, and then they'll also be within the world. They're also not really part of the show much. But so then you'll kind of once in a while run into them, once in a while run into a robot. Nothing really new is added in the Cell Saga, though once in a while you might run into a Cyberman, but I think that's all the way from the Saiyan Saga. So I don't think anything's really added during Cell.
Right.
And then in the Majin Buu Saga, there's some Bobbity minions, which look just like fucking Frieza's guys. So the enemy variety is a bit piss. So, but since you can blow past a lot of those fights, and you don't really need to grind all that much in the game, like at all, because there's a lot more opportunities to gain XP.
Okay.
Though the other negative is the bosses kind of don't feel all that different from like a normal enemy or like a slightly tougher enemy.
Really? Like at all?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is there difficulties?
No.
No, it's all just one set.
Yeah, I believe so.
Ah.
I think there might be difficulties. I can't remember. It's been so long since I started the game. There might be. But as far as I can remember, no. Because so the thing that makes the bosses quote unquote harder is that you fight them multiple times most of the time. Because like you'll fight them, and then, for example, like the Frieza saga. So you fight him in his first form, and then after you win, he's like, "Oh, but I have my second form," and you can like maybe go get some potions or something in between, and then come back, fight his second form, kind of thing.
Right.
And then like he'll transform into his third form, and like so you'll fight them multiple times, but sometimes you'll beat them so easily, their exhaustion in the next, like your character's exhaustion in the cutscene is just kind of like, what? I absolutely trounced this guy. What's the problem?
What the heck happened?
Exactly. There are... So, at certain points in the game, you can obviously go collect the Dragon Balls.
Uh-huh.
And what you get from the Dragon Balls is you can... Where did I put the notes? Okay, so you can get buffs. So like, stronger damage and whatnot for a while.
Yeah.
Or a straight out cash like payout, which is like I think 50,000 things, and those are wishes that you can redo. You can also revive old bosses and fight them again. So,
really?
Yeah.
Like with the Dragon Balls?
Yeah, so once you collect the Dragon Balls, you'll see like one of the wishes that you can select is I want to fight Raditz again. So you click that and he'll respawn at the place that you beat him. At least he does. Some of the other ones that like died off planet or something don't. They'll just spawn somewhere in the main map. But so then you can go and refight them. And the purpose of the fight is that it's like non-lethal, so technically in the world of Kakarot, these bosses are still alive, technically. But yeah. But you can only do it once, and it's like an additional side story kind of thing.
That's kind of cool, though.
It is. Another way that you can fight bosses again, and this time they're stronger, is through villainous enemies. So as you're going through, like there's a stronger version of the random encounter, or quote unquote random encounters, that you'll come across called villainous enemies. They'll have a red aura around them, and when you first encounter them, like and first given access to them, it's you're not going to be able to beat them, kind of thing. You're way under leveled. But as you go, they don't scale. Most other enemies will scale to where you should be in the story. They don't. So they'll stay like level 40, level 60, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So once you reach a level that you can actually tackle these guys, depending on how long you wait, they're either super easy or a decent challenge. for one set, it was super easy because if you are at least 10 or so levels above an enemy, they will do near 0 damage to you. They'll do like 1 damage to you. And you will absolutely destroy them.
Really?
Yes. So like I was like level 60 going up against some level 40 villainous enemies and just like absolutely wiping the floor with them. Once you defeat all of the villainous enemies in an area, more will spawn that are like one was like the phases of Frieza. So like in the section, 3 or so spawned in, and it was like the different main forms of Frieza, and you just went through and fought each one, and then afterwards I think they then kind of combined into the main Frieza, and then you fought him, and then that area is clear. And each kind of area does that.
And the end was the Majin Buu, right?
Yes. So, Majin Buu was a decently satisfying set of fights because, like, as you're following the story, like, there's a lot of build-up. Though, you know, Dragon Ball has the problem of the stakes sometimes don't feel all that big, seeing as, like, he kills the entire world and destroys the planet, and it's wished back by the Namekians and Dende, so it's just like, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, so that fight was kind of nice. I did find Majin Buu to be a bit of a weird tone to end on, because he's very childish and playful, and like he messes around, and it's like, this is the final boss? Really?
Huh, like this. I mean, I think Majin Buu is kind of cool. Like, from what I've seen of him in Budokai 2.
He's cool, but at the same time weird. So you have
his fat form is dumb.
His fat form is silly, and is befriended by Mr. Satan. To the point where that's where like the main conflict comes in, because Mr. Satan gets killed or shot at the very least, and Majin Buu heals him, but is like so angry that he splits into 2 forms, Majin Buu and evil Majin Buu. And then evil Majin Buu turns him into candy and eats him, and that's how he gets his like main form of Super Buu, I believe. And then he just starts absorbing people. So he's like menacing in that way, but a lot of like the way he talks and like a lot of the things that he does, like when he becomes Kid Buu, it's like, okay, really, because some of the things that he was doing at the end of the fight was like he'll slap his butt and like tease you before attacking, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's just a little silly. And like the very end was mostly just like a cutscene. Anyway, so like Goku builds the spirit bomb and just chucks it at Majin Buu. And then they remember that they still had a third wish, and I can't remember the Namekian's version of Shenron's name. It's cooler. But like he's getting pissed off, and he's like, you guys still have a third wish, are you going to use it? And Dende's like, oh yeah, fuck. Restore Goku's energy, can you do that? And he's like, yeah, do that. Restores Goku's energy, Goku goes Super Saiyan and is able to defeat Majin Buu. There was a weird thing that happened in like the final cutscene where Dende was a kid again, and I was like, what? Why? Was that a mistake? Did they forget to use the adult Dende model? Like, why is he a kid? But yeah, so to kind of, because you said that you're not sure if it'll like be your thing, or at least that you would want to play it. So let me kind of detail some of my time with it. As I said, I bought it back in 2020. Well, just 2020. And I played it for quite a bit then. It was actually quite addictive. It's a very fun game. Like, you can keep fairly on top of the side quests and everything. So I spent quite a lot of time playing it, but I also spent a lot of time not playing it, but wanting to play it. You know that feeling?
Yeah.
Where,
no,
like,
I definitely know that feeling.
Yeah. But the issue I ran into was what I tend to do a lot, where I'd like start it up but not play it, or I would look at it longingly but then decide to play something else or watch something instead. But overall, I really wanted to play it, and when I bought my 2 terabyte hard drive for my PS5, the like hard drive, I was doing some like switching around of like what games I wanted to stay on the console and everything, and that one I deleted but forgot for a while to re-download, and when I went to re-download it, something happened to where it didn't download correctly. So when I went to play it, it was just like, yeah, something's wrong. So I was like, fuck. So I had to uninstall it and reinstall it. And at that point, I was just like, ugh. So then it sat dormant again for a while. And the way that the PS5's like menu works, I tend to forget what games I have downloaded and not. But eventually, I got a bug up my butt and decided, fine, I'll go ahead and hunker down and play it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, I just craved it a lot, and I think it goes hand in hand with my craving to watch the show. Kinda.
Or do you think you're gonna watch the show anytime soon?
I mean, anytime soon. Like Dragon Ball Z itself, no. Dragon Ball, maybe. Because, like I said, I need to get through Dragon Ball first, because they connect heavily.
Yeah.
I need to. So my time, because I did finish it. I was luckily able to finish it before this. The story is not the same for Ni no Kuni, but we'll get to that next episode. But I spent 60 hours and 44 minutes on it.
Which is roughly like the normal RPG time.
Generally, yeah. I believe
at least for me.
I believe the how long to beat for it is like 30 or 40 hours. But I did a lot of the side quests as I went along. Like, I didn't, stay focused on the story. I would constantly, whenever I was given the chance, I would check the main map to see if I could do a side quest or two. Or if any had become available. But, yeah. I think it's something that you would like, but it is definitely like a time drain. If you're not that invested in Dragon Ball, you won't like it for sure.
I don't mind Dragon Ball, but like I said, like it's just one of those like I'm not like hardcore fanning over it. So there's other things that I'd rather watch or do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's
like I love the fighting games like Dragon Ball Fighters and Budokai 2 is really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a fighting game feel to it at times, which is nice. But also linking more heavily with the story and following it quite faithfully and being a bit of an RPG. So you have your levels, you have there's training grounds that you do to be able to like level up. Well, to unlock abilities and whatnot.
Like an arena kind of thing?
Kind of. So what it is there's certain spots called training grounds. There's like these like blue little aura things coming out of the ground. And you'll go up to it and access it. And depending on the character, it'll be like a move and then like what you have to fight. And it'll be like 3 level 20 Gokus. Or...
Oh my god.
Yeah, or like 1 level 20 Gohan, 1 level 20 Goku, and 1 level 20 Piccolo kind of thing. And then you fight spectral versions of them. Which is neat.
That is pretty cool.
But at the same time, it's very like, they're just kind of reusing models kind of thing. Anything else? I think that's pretty much Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Like, unless there's something that, like, really stood out to you from the game.
Oh, let's see. I mean, mostly it's just kind of the feel. Like, I feel that I like a lot of portions of Dragon Ball Z. At least I found that I enjoy portions of Dragon Ball Z that a lot of people find annoying. Like, a lot of people don't like Ginyu Force. And I absolutely love the campiness of Ginyu Force. It's hilarious.
Yeah, with a lot of fans, like, those guys are a give and take thing. Like,
yeah,
some people love them, some people think they're just obnoxious.
A lot of people also don't like Saiyan Man, Gohan's superhero alter ego.
Yeah, I kind of like it though.
Oh yeah, no, I fucking love it. Like, I love it, and I love the idea of it because it just seems like the natural progression, you know? Like, you have all these powers, your dad's dead, like, you were forced to, like, train so hard that you were able to kill someone almost akin to a god. What do you do with your power now? You fight crime. But, yeah, that's kind of the main thing. There's... I mean, also, just, like most of the feelings that I have about, like, the game are some of the feelings I have about the show, obviously, because they're so heavily linked together that it's kind of hard to separate. On the topic of Dragon Ball-esque design, I'm super excited for Dragon Quest 12.
Dragon Quest 12?
Yeah.
I haven't heard about that.
They announced it during the Dragon Quest anniversary last year. Dragon Quest 12 is supposed to be a darker Dragon Quest. I believe it's using Unreal Engine 5.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's gonna look so pretty. Like, some of the screenshots that they've already kind of like shared were like super pretty. I think it's Unreal Engine 5. I'm not sure, but it's definitely like going ham in the design. And, like, the logo is, like, this fiery 12. It looks so good. I'm so excited. Anywho, if we are done with that, let's move on to the next section. So, the next section is just pretty much what else we playing. What else? We don't fully have a name for it yet, but what else you playing?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on and off on Red Dead. I'm, of course, playing Tales of Arise.
Yeah.
Which will be talked about eventually in the series.
Eventually. That might be one of the rare episodes where we both talk about it.
Yeah, it's so good.
It is.
It's so good. Like, I love Tales, but that's another time.
That's another time, yes.
Other than that, it hasn't been too much. I've really been wanting to play games on my PC, but just haven't really gotten the oomph to do so.
Yeah, same.
Like, I've been wanting to play more Security Breach, but I want to stream it, but...
You need a better webcam.
Yeah. That's about it, though.
Yeah. For me, I haven't really been playing much else. I've been mostly watching shows. Like, I've been watching Great North, which is like a Bob's Burgers, like, style animation show set in Alaska with
I think
Nick
I know
Offerman.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, Nick Offerman is the main character. Love him.
I mean, if we're going shows, I've been rewatching Fire Force at work lately.
I've been wanting to watch Fire Force. How is it?
It's so good. The characters are lovable, and, like, the action is so cool. And
yeah, I really need to watch that sometime. I've also taken a bit of an interest in, speaking of shows, in My Dress Up Darling. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's very new. So it's
So many animes are just crazy with names.
Oh, I hate the ones that, like, have those extremely long names. It kills me. But so my dress up darling is a guy who he likes to make Hina dolls, those like really traditional like Japanese dolls kind of thing. He has that hobby, but he's like, you know, embarrassed about it and whatnot, until he gets caught doing it because like his sewing machine at home broke, so he had to do it at school to be able to get his fix of like working on the dolls.
Right.
And he gets caught by one of the most popular girls in school, who also goes there to make cosplay, but she's bad at it. So she asks him to help her make cosplay because one of her biggest things is wanting to be able to like cosplay, but she's so bad at making the costumes that, you know, she's not able to.
Right.
So he helps her along, and of course it ends up being a bit of a romance and whatnot. I've been reading the manga because like the anime's literally airing now, so I'm just kind of waiting for it to kind of get out before I watch it. I think it'll be a lot more interesting to watch than read.
It sounds like it. Like animes, like slice of life animes like that are kind of funner to watch than rather than read.
The problem I have with reading it is that there's a lot of technical sections where it'll go on for like quite a few panels describing how he's doing her makeup. And while it's interesting, it's long. Like, cool, I love technical stuff, but man, you're kind of going on a bit.
Yeah, but it'll probably be more visually pleasing in the anime.
Yeah. As for games, I re-downloaded Uncharted because I like I said, I upgraded that, and I also re-downloaded Jedi Fallen Order because of what's happening in the Book of Boba Fett. I've also been watching the Book of Boba Fett. Yes. What's been happening is like one of the droids from Fallen Order appeared in one of the episodes, so it's just like, I kind of want to play that now.
So it kind of reignited a flame.
Yeah, and we'll talk about a little bit more in the next episode. But they announced Jedi Fallen Order 2 as well, and there's rumors that it's coming out later this year.
Nice.
Yes, so very excited.
There's supposed to be a Five Nights movie this year.
Yeah, probably eventually. I would be down to watch it in theaters.
Well, I remember them like promoting it for this year a couple years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem is, like, we don't know how bad COVID's affected a lot of these productions.
Yeah.
Which sucks, really. I'm just happy that Uncharted's still coming out this month, actually. Comes out later this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, so excited.
I mean, for me, that one kind of came out of nowhere.
The Uncharted one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I saw, like one promotional thing for it, and then, like, instantly things started coming out, and then before I know it, like, it's already almost out.
Yeah, for me, I'd heard, like, rumors about it, and then saw some things, like, like, it's going into production, it's filming now, filming's finished, Tom Holland says this about his performance, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I've been following it fairly closely, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'm just excited to see, like, what they do with it, and if it gets a sequel, what they do with that, you know?
Yeah. Because if they're fitting all the games, basically. I'm curious to see if Elena's going to be in it.
That's a good question. Like
because Elena's like the main heroine in all of them, so
it looks like since they're doing a weird thing, so it's like set in his past, but also it's covering a lot of what happens in each of the games. Kind of thing.
Yeah,
so it's weird.
Like,
but
like it's Uncharted, like it's the story of Uncharted, but he's young.
Yeah,
and so is like Sully and Chloe.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, they have Chloe in it, so it's going to be interesting whether or not they do put Elaine in it. So,
But I would like to see Elena though, if they do.
at the very least, a cameo would be nice to hint that she'll be more prominent in the next one, kind of thing. At the very least.
Because maybe they're gonna try and do it to where like they can like slowly spin the movie off as its own little Uncharted series.
That would be kind of nice. I mean, as it is, they're doing so much different, yeah. But, yeah, so as for actually playing games, I have not played anything else. I just downloaded a few.
Yeah. I mean, I took advantage of the lunar sale and bought some games for my PC.
Oh, nice. I might see about doing something like that. The lunar sale ends tomorrow at the time we're recording, so, yeah.
Wait, it ends tomorrow?
It does. It ends on the 3rd. So, if there's any last-minute things you want to nip up, that's where you do it.
Yeah, because I got Oculus Strip, God Eater 3, and then Planet Zoo.
Yeah, it ends tomorrow.
Damn.
Dude, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel.
Oh, man.
It's free to play.
Yeah, maybe I'll give it one more look before tomorrow.
Yeah, I might take a look too. See what's happening. But yeah, so I think that is a good place to end for today.
Honestly, went on longer than I thought it would.
Oh yeah, no, like I was actually expecting that it will probably get to be these kinds of links, especially when we actually have a proper news section next episode. So yeah, so let's go ahead and wrap up. Is there anything that you would like to plug right now?
At the moment, not really, but I do music on the side. I only have an Instagram. It's Died Within. There'll probably be links somewhere, right?
Yes, I will be putting links in the description to the socials.
Yeah. So, I mean, outside of this, I really only make music. I'm trying to start up streaming, like, once I get a webcam, so
yes,
that's about it for me.
Yeah, as for me, I stream once in a blue moon, but with the advent of this podcast, I intend to stream a lot more. That's, everything for me is under Leo Legionnaire, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Twitch. You can go ahead and follow us on the RPG Hangout Twitter and Instagram. You can subscribe to the video version on YouTube. You can follow this podcast on Acast and wherever you like to get your podcasts, though for the time being, not on Spotify. So there's that. It might come to Spotify down the line, but for now, no. Not until they clean up their shit. At least do better than half-assed, like, hand-waving bullshit. But
I, however, am on Spotify under the same name of Died Within.
Yes. Which, fair enough, man. Like, that's like the main platform that you've distributed to. You don't have the luxury of, like, multi-millionaire recording artists.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But yeah, this podcast should be on Acast, because that's the main platform it's on. iTunes and all the good podcast places that are not currently Spotify. But yeah, that'll do us. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope that you join us for more adventures.
Adios.